Welcome to Plastic Fantastic, the first UK podcast marrying non-surgical and surgical treatments, brought to you by Adrian Richards and myself, Alison Telfer. We're going to interview the great, the fantastic, the fabulous, and all of those around our environment that have had some influence or work within anything to do with plastic surgery and non-surgical. We hope you enjoy the journey, come with us, and let's meet some fascinating characters on the way.
So today, Al and I are absolutely delighted to be welcoming the entrepreneur, businesswoman who is Dee Hadley, and is a good friend of yours, Al.
A really good friend of mine. Dee and I have known each other years, and I think we've sort of come together because we're both quite business-minded and there's an alliance there. But the reason I really wanted us to interview Dee is because Dee started life in the NHS like all of us, but has built property portfolios, clinic portfolios, and really sort of has developed this into an incredible businesswoman. Hi, Dee.
Hello, my darling. Hello, Adrian.
Hello, nice to meet you.
So Dee, just talk us through, because I know about your massive businesses, but a lot of people don't, and yet you go around mopping up patients and businesses and things like that, and you really are this sort of silent one walking through that sort of picks all these businesses up. So tell us how that all started.
So I was a midwife, Alison, and I was a very, I was really passionate midwife that really wanted to make change. Worked arduously as a midwife, but it's hard work, isn't it? I was tired. And then one day I stumbled almost by default onto aesthetics and realised, because I'm quite creative, I love interior design, so it all went hand in hand, that the science and the art came together. So I started a small business in a time where nurses or midwives didn't really set up a business. But, you know, sometimes business is about creativity, isn't it? It's about seeing opportunities and working in different ways. I think I had the ability to do that. So I think one of the things that you said that's quite right is that I always swam deep out into the ocean and let the piranhas eat themselves in the shallow water. And I think that's the biggest thing in business, isn't it? Because if you want to do well, what you have to do is focus on your own journey and don't look left or right. Because I think that's where people go wrong, that you've got to focus on success and be driven.
Yeah, that's a good point. And don't worry too much about what other people are doing.
Well, you'll always, I've been reading, because it's Mental Health Week, I've been looking a lot at women in business and how they struggle with other women. And this is the other thing, because I quite like men, if I'm allowed to say that, because they think in a very straight way. Women have they're much more complex and there's a lot more psychology. But when you're thinking about business, it's very different to normal life, because what you want answers, you want them straight, and you want to get on with it and make changes and move forward to the next plan. So I've struggled too, and there's a lot of punitive behaviour amongst women. If I'm honest, I've seen this. Whether I'm the only woman that's seen it, it's unlikely. But I see it on social media, the trolls. So that's another thing, Adrian. I don't bother with social media. And I'm going to ask you a question as a high-flying plastic surgeon, because I've looked at your background. Do you ever look at social media and think, I'm not doing so well as everyone else?
Well, I think people do, don't they? But, you know, everyone on social media does, to be fair.
It's a lot of psychologically.
Yes, a lot of my colleagues, you know, people I know, buy followers on Instagram. So, I don't know, they have. But social media is all about that. It's about hype, isn't it? And but you shouldn't feel worse than anyone else in life. Yeah, I agree with you. Women.
I think sometimes when you look at I look at people that have businesses in my area, and they're on their private jets, and I think, oh well, I just saw them in a Fiesta, so that's really quite impossible.
Yeah.
It's true, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is that some people we talk to, don't we, Al, who you think have got brilliant lives, don't. And I've got a really good friend who's as a coach to top business people. The people who've got everything would seem to have everything. And a lot of them, when you look in their private life, don't really have very much at all. So don't believe what you see. Is that, yeah.
No, it's a lot of hype. I think, Dee, what you've always been good at, and I think this is what's taken you forward, and we'll come back then you setting up Beautoxology, because what you've always been good at, and you've done it here, you're really good at profiling yourself, and which is really important, because I think as nurses and midwives, there tends to be this pecking order and this hierarchy that we suffer from, So, you know, there's other challenges in life, just being a woman, you know, sometimes in business that's difficult. But as a nurse and a midwife, I mean, Adrian and I have talked about this a lot. We have this, that people think, well, because you're a nurse, you're never going to be quite as successful as perhaps the doctor in this industry, or you're never going to be. But actually, we know ourselves that there's lots of doctors out there on faculties, on advisory boards and all that, but they don't have that big, robust business behind them that they are striving for.
Yeah, guys, you two are both strong women. You've got very successful careers. You know, you run big clinics. You know, I don't think you've got anything to feel worried about at all. And your clinics, and you're much more successful than most plastic surgeons. So I wouldn't.
Well, do you know what, I actually agree, and that's really lovely, but that comes with intelligence. So you're not always dealing with people like you, so you will have people that think very differently. I'm just going to pop my glasses on again, I've realised I'm getting old. But what you actually find is I will work with consultants that are less intimidated than a junior doctor. And sometimes, you know, as strong women, we do have to pull people out and say to them, come on, because kindness is key, and keeping humble in business is very important. And also having integrity, because, you know, you can run a successful business and still play by the rules. That's my opinion. You don't have to do people over. You can still be kind. And my motto is that I have this, you know, karma effects, that when somebody actually... Now,
like them. Yeah.
I like them. Oh, they look like mine, actually.
Yeah.
But, you know, I actually think that when you have people that will do you over in business, because it's the nature of the beast, people will work for you and set up, or, you know, lots of things happen. Always be kind and always maintain a good relationship, because people come back to you.
Yeah. So Dee, my family motto, and I've got a big poster of it everywhere I go, is work hard and be kind to people.
Always. It's the number one rule to business.
What's your motto, Al?
Succeeding is not enough. Others must fail in my wake.
Right. Anyway, right.
Others must suffer in my wake. No, I don't mean that. Come on then, Dee. Stop being so coy. Tell us about Beautoxology. How did you start it? And how have you ended up taking over most of Birmingham and the Cotswolds?
Well, I'm going to be really humble here in admitting how I started it, because it was me. My business was me, myself and I. So I was the rep. I was the person that went out and got the business. And I think they were quite surprised when I turned up as the injector also. So I was absolutely everything. And it did take its toll. I'm not going to, you know, it had a massive impact on a very strong marriage that, you know, I've been with the same person all my life. But, you know, an impact on my children. I was tired, exhausted. But, you know, it was with pure grit and determination. I went out there day in, day out. And one of the biggest things is that you can get business, but retaining business is the most difficult thing. So you have to give a fantastic service. So I started off actually with a map and a pebble effect of going out and following the pebbles. So I would take over an area, then I'd go to the next area, take it over, go to the next area, and keep doing that until I'd sort of saturated most of the Midlands. And then I started going more national.
You have one of those maps like in the Second World War?
I did. I wasn't messing around, Adrian. I was thinking of where I was going. A little bit like those people that want to travel the world and they have a map and they start putting the dots on and thinking, I'm going to, you know, you can think small and it grows big. And this is exactly what happened. I then started a pharmaceutical company, saw how much business I was doing, and then started to invest in me. And they gave me some business advice, which was to hub. So they started hubbing into big main clinics. So what they were saying is this is too much for because it was complex in the way that we were running it. We had a call centre. Everything went around the call centre, and it was all strategically mapped. So then we took it to what we call platinum clinics, and I took other people on board, which I took. I've had nurses that have worked for me, and I've got a fantastic nurse at the moment that's relatively new. But most of the people that work for me are the people that look after my business. So one of the most incredible people in my business is another woman that thinks like me, and she runs that business like it's her own. And we, you know, she's my family. But we work around the clock. We have so much passion in our business. The new people that have come have the same ideology. And so we took it down to 20 clinics, and then I invested a lot of the money into property, and I built Beautoxology in Belbroughton. And I bought the property almost in an auction. I didn't even have a home buyer's report. I just said to my solicitor, buy it, I want it. It was quite a brave thing to do because there was walls falling down, but I've been brought up around building all my life with my husband. So I just came home and said to him, we've got a big, massive renovation project on our hands. And we've done it, and it's beautiful. And we've just bought a new clinic in the Cotswolds, and then we have a number of clinics around the country. But basically, what I've actually tried to do, Adrian, is invest in other businesses. And one of them is a property business. So
yeah. And what do the clinics look like? Can you remind us where they are and what they look like, Dee?
So some are clinics that I rent that are very basic, if I'm honest. You know, they're clean, they have to, you know, they're fairly attractive with, you know. But my own clinic is quite bespoke because I think it's very hotel-like. I think it's quite exquisite and a little bit different from most other clinics. So it's got a shop, and it's a grade 2 listed building. And you come through the very clinical shop, you know, white, big counter, big chandeliers, to a lounge that's very Chanel-y. It's, you know, it's got blush chairs, and I've really tried to listen to my patients. So I've done different things with my patients, and we did a survey, new or old. And I used to work from home once in a detached from my house. And everybody says we love coming to a country village and having that home sort of. So that's what I created. So it's got big clinical rooms, high beamed, wacky lighting. It's got music playing. We have an espresso machine. There's a fantastic vibe. So you come into my clinic, and the minute you walk in, I think you feel loved because it's almost like a family, you know. In fact, our patients buy us birthday cards, and interestingly, Adrian, this meant an awful lot to me because while I've been on lockdown, a few of my patients have actually I actually put my property up on Facebook. I had a wacky moment. I wanted to restructure my life. COVID's made me think about so much. I'm going to do something amazing. I'm going to do something different. And the amount of patients actually text me saying, can I pay for my treatments in advance? I know you're probably struggling with lockdown. And wasn't that a lovely thing? I mean, that says everything because I think that businesses are built on kindness, just like that plaque in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Businesses are built on kindness. And you've got to be a great injector. You've got to be skillful. And I think as a midwife, I've had to go back to the drawing board and prove myself clinically to my plastic surgeon colleagues and my medical colleagues, because you won't have the same credibility as your medical counterparts, but you can gain it if you go away, because none of us are confined to not growing as human beings. We all have the ability to be brighter than the next. We've just got to apply ourselves and read and learn. And sometimes if you're a slow learner, it means going back to those same pieces of research and books and reading them over again.
Yeah. So the clinics, Al, have you been to Dee's clinics?
I had Beautoxology, excuse me, is beautiful. But Dee, we always sort of, because Dee and our businesses are similar, but she talks about patience and slowness and calm. This is one fast woman. Dee, how many patients do you see on a busy day?
Well, I've started to try and slow it down, but I've seen up to 60 patients a day. But I do work, I used to work from 8 till sort of 9, 10 o'clock in the night. And as I'm getting older, I am finding it very difficult.
And the way you did that, you've set your clinic up really well the way you do that, haven't you? It's almost like, sorry, I've got a cough. It's almost like they're greeted by one person, then so they don't feel like they're being seen quickly, do they? You've created this streamline for them, so they feel like they're being looked after all the way through, but actually their time with you is the critical, important bit, but they don't feel like they're being...
Yeah, can I just say, Dee, I do exactly the same. So Dee and me come from the same area. We could be related, Dee.
I think we look alike.
I think we do. Look alike, yeah. And we both come from...
looking version you yourself, of course.
Yeah, so I was born in Birmingham, and Dee, obviously you're from there, and you know where I lived, where my grandparents lived, don't you? So I do exactly the same thing in clinics. We have 3 rooms and I go between the 3. Is that the same as you do?
So yes, no, my patients tend to come in and they look around the shop because it's an attractive shop, you know. We have like high-end brands, and then we also do things like we keep it medical, we keep it very medical, but we have things like Jane Iredale, which is, you know, 100% mineral based, so they will look at things like that while they're waiting. They go into the lounge and there's big glass tables and we have Louis Vuitton books, Dior books, you name it, and then some interesting books if we have really, really intelligent people that want to, you know, we have a bit of everything. And they'll come in and, you know, it's a really chilled atmosphere and we play lovely music. They have a coffee, so we offer them we have a tea menu and we have a coffee menu. So the girls make them their coffee and bring them biscuits and, you know, we pamper them. I think some of my patients would actually, if there was a bed there, they'd come and stay there. And then they come into, if I have a little bit of a wait, we actually, the girls will speak to them, and my staff, because they're so committed, will never consult, but they will discuss treatments. They'll say, you know, when you see Dee, the chances are she'll discuss this with you. I've actually had people that work for me that actually could be clinicians, but they're not medical. You know, they're really bright because I train them to that level. And then they come through to me and they have a smaller amount of time with me, but it's actually quality time. And I also get to know the patients that don't want longer in clinic and those that need longer. So, you know, I'll say, so-and-so's come and give her extra time because I know I'll run behind. I think that's just a skill that we learn with business because we don't want our patients to be waiting forever. So, yeah, we also cater for our male. So we have a side entrance to clinic. We have a side entrance and a male waiting room that's a little bit quirky. It's a little bit more Italian and, you know, there's male books.
You've got side entrance for men?
But if men or women, you know, if somebody wants to be private, we have a private access.
Like a VIP sort of access?
Yeah, so they come through the side, it's a big glass area and no one can see them come through. They can come straight through to a treatment room.
Yeah. And Dee, where's your main clinic? So to talk me through your main, where's that? So
you know the Clent Hills. The Clent Hills is just outside Birmingham. It's about 12 miles. And the Belbroughton is the next village along. It's a very quintessential English village, but it's very, I don't know whether you know of Hagley, but Hagley's been in the paper as being the next Essex because it's very, you know, it's very footballers' wives. So I have a good catchment area, and then my clinic in the Cotswolds, I cover quite a big area because a lot of my patients that have got second homes in London go there. So I tend to be able to cater for them. Sometimes the Cotswold patients will come to my clinic in Belbroughton if there's no flexibility. So yeah, so we're juggling it all. It's hard, you know. I sometimes forget my own children's names. It's inevitable when you're a woman and you're doing everything. These things happen, and it's the sacrifice you make for being a businesswoman, I guess. I mean, I don't know about you, Alison. Do you struggle as a woman?
I think it's hard because I think, it is hard trying to struggle because your kids also, when you have children, they're always going to want their mother. You know, they're always going to want, it doesn't matter if, and so I do think men very often get off lightly because if there's 2 of you in the house, well, even if you both had a busy day, the kids are always going to want their mum. But that's just kind of life. But that's where we end up very clever at multitasking, I think, because your business, Dee, isn't the only thing that you do, isn't it? You sort of do a lot of, you've got a teaching company as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of teaching, which is the academy. And I love teaching. There's actually quite a lot of hard work that goes into the academy. And I don't do loads and loads, but I have good full days. And I was doing the expert practitioner program. I'm also, I was an ambassador for Allergan, and now I've moved over to Beautoxology, which has been a fantastic move. And that's actually quite demanding because it's a really evidence-based faculty. So you have to be at the top of your tree, you know, at the top of your game. So I've been you know, working hard with that. So yes, sometimes I'm pulled in all directions, and I think it's very important for women that have businesses, whether they're successful or not, to be humble enough and to be open enough to say to women, listen, it's not easy. Now, I remember years ago, my PA, I didn't employ her. She came to me and said, you need a PA. And the reason is because I pulled up. I used to have a Porsche. I'd pull up, so it's okay, having nice, fancy things, but I pulled up, I'd kick my kid out and say, run to school.
Yeah.
And I remember once going to the school, and I actually had my dress on inside out, and it was actually tucked into my pants, you know, and this woman came to my house and said, you need help. You need help. That's how I got Amanda.
Is she still with you?
Sorry. Amanda isn't with me. She was with me for years and years, and she took time out and decided to do something else. But, you know, I'm friends with everybody that I've ever, you know, I've always had great relationships with the people that have worked for me.
I'm not, but I'd like to work for you, Dee, because it's not uncommon for you to take your team to London for lovely dinners. You take them to the south of France. You really look after your team, and I think that's quite unusual as well.
You know, I'm good to my staff because if you're not good to your staff, they will lose heart. But you want them to work for you because they love you. And I might be wrong, because I could think even people that have walked, because I'm not saying it's always been easy. Some people have walked away from my business and it's been a little bit sticky because I've not agreed, or maybe they've been because I can be quite straight and say it is sometimes. If you get me on a bad day, I'm not putting lace on it. If you get me on a good day, you might get a little bit of lace. But the truth is that some women don't like that. So if I don't want something done in a certain way, and I say, I don't like the way that's working. If you've got a better idea, I'm willing to listen to it, but if you haven't, we need to do it this way. I don't want a big debate unless you're going to give me something concrete that I can work on. Of course, that can be very difficult if a woman is sensitive. So I have upset people in the past. It goes with the territory, and sometimes you just think it is what it is, and they'll come back to me. Now, I have a woman work for me for years and years, and we had a very volatile relationship. And she now actually runs an aesthetic clinic, and we really love and adore each other. But I did send her a text once saying, you'll come back to me one day. And I think she put, it wasn't very nice, but I don't think so.
Were you too similar, Dee?
Sorry?
Were you too similar to her, do you think?
No, completely the opposite. I like people similar to me because I can literally say, less of the shit, let's move on, and it's done. And then it's great. But yeah, of course, I think
that's probably why we've always got on well, because we're both quite straight talking. And when we work together on the Allergan faculty, but I think that's quite intimidating for people though sometimes, Adrian, because she isn't afraid to say exactly what she thinks and stand by it. And I think we were in Paris years ago at a conference, and I remember someone had said something that was untoward, and you just laid it out straight to them, and people didn't quite know how to react, because I think in our industry, and to be very British, people pussyfoot around each other. So you are quite good at laying it out straight, but you do add a bit of lace once you've laid it out straight.
Not very often.
No, but life is too short.
I do pick up sensitive women though, Adrian. I'm really big on mental health, and I realise that some women will work really hard for you, but they do need an arm around them, and they need kindness, so they can't take it because they'll take it personally. So sometimes I will say, darling, I'm sorry to say this to you, but that's not going to quite work. Please don't take it that way. I do feel a little bit begrudged to waste words, but I do it.
Yeah. And tell us, these trips away for your staff sound good fun. So tell us about that, Dee.
So I recently took them to Lake Windermere. So we went to Lake Windermere, and I always used to take my PA with me. We used to stay in London all the time, and I'd take them to I'd take them to the Savoy for dinner, or we'd go I try to give them a little bit of a nice life, because they worked hard for me, and I've been very lucky. I'm really into the law of attraction. Now, I know some people don't buy into this, but it works. When I want something, I focus on it and it's going to happen for me. The only reason it won't happen is because I've made it not happen.
Tell us about that again. Sorry about that.
So have you heard of the law of attraction?
No.
No. Okay. So there's something bigger than us. You've got to read about it, Adrian. It's massive and it's brilliant for business. Have you ever read the book The Secret?
No. I've
These
got some
plastic
reading to do.
surgeons.
No, but the secret is a really funny thing because I haven't read it, but I often have clients who say to me, you must have read The Secret, because of the way that I do visualize things. I can see something in my head and I'm going to get it type thing. And also, I think it is what you say, Dee, what you put out, you get back. And that's part of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about visualization. It's about seeing your goal, being focused on it and knowing it's going to happen for you. So I've just recently lost my dream home. I was a bit stubborn and I've lost my dream home. I know it's falling through for the other people.
Why did you lose your dream home?
So because I offered a considerable amount over the asking price, and then I felt the guy was being a bit greedy, and on principle I got stubborn and said, no, that's it. And then it went,
Paris isn't available, Dee.
no, I know. It was Windsor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just know it's going to happen. I think this house doesn't belong to them, it belongs to me. So it's going to fall through and it's coming my way. So I just said, I'm looking at other houses thinking, I'm not buying because I've got to save my money ready for this one because it's coming up soon.
Tell us about your dream house then.
So my dream house, I've changed a lot, Adrian, because I'm not really materialistic, if I'm honest. I like happiness. So my house that I live in at the moment is 2 old cottages knocked into one, but it's in the most beautiful, idyllic spot. But I do want a swimming pool, so that says I'm not materialistic, but that's because I don't want to be fat. You know, I want to swim, and I'd like a gym. And the other thing is my house is very quirky, so it's got lots of little doors and, you know, it's very quaint, you know, it's like something out of an old novel, but I want a big, massive open plan kitchen so I can have parties. I want a big, massive window overlooking here. Not much, but you know, I'm Laura attracted.
Yeah, so where is this house and how big is it? The one you go to?
It's a Georgian house. It's a big house, quite an imposing house. You drive onto the drive and drive off. And it's not mine at the moment, but it's there for me. It's big, long windows, a couple of acres. It's got a mazed garden. Mm-hmm. And the maze was lovely because I actually thought that's where my swimming pool's going. Would you like an invite when I get it? You can play.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you can play the band. You know, you can get your band and.
Yeah, you were saying you have a party, Dee. Do you have a white party?
Oh, we did. We've organised something called the White Party. Have you got a white suit, Adrian?
Have I got a white what? A white.
It's got a white shirt. It's got a section of white shirts.
Yeah. And I've got some white trainers with LED lights in them.
Oh, God.
I'll bring those.
VIP guest and your guitar.
VIP guest, yeah. That sounds like a lovely house. Has it got a swimming pool now, Dee?
My house?
Yeah.
No.
No, the one you're going to get.
Well, I'm looking at one on Thursday that has got a swimming pool, and it's also got it's got a pool house. Like so that you can get changed in there, and a big party gazebo that's all built in. But I don't like the front; it hasn't got curb appeal. So I'm Laura attracting the other one that I want. It's coming to me, and I will send you a photo when it happens.
Oh,
can I go back to the white party?
Yeah, go back to the white party. Go on.
Yeah. So there's a condition that it's really close to my heart, Paul, because my niece, who's a very bright girl, graduated from Oxford in physiology. She got a condition called FOP, and basically it's the most horrendous disease that I've ever seen, because it's where somebody grows bone in their skeleton, so they get a second skeleton. So she's in a wheelchair now, beautiful girl. And they're running out of funds at Oxford University, so we've been trying to do lots of work. So we decided to do a white party in the back of my clinic, and I've actually had a white garden built. It's very zen, and my clinic has got lots of outhouses, so we're going to have a gin bar, and we're going to have different bars. The village have all come together. I've got lots of friends around here just because of what I do, and I used to be the midwife around here. So everybody's building these bars and helping me, and we've sold 125 tickets in a week. And then we went to lockdown, but we want to sell 250. It's only £20 a ticket, and that includes canapes, a live band. People are coming in. We've got a few transvestites dressing up all in white. It's going to be the party central because everybody will be fun, and we are probably going to have to put it back to next year now, because I think large populations of people together is not a good idea. But it's going to happen, so I just hope that you'll come.
Yeah, I'd definitely be there, and I could talk to the band if you want. They could come as well.
We'd love that. I'll sing for you.
Can you sing?
No.
Okay.
After a gin and tonic, she'll sing.
Actually, that's the three of us. Neither of us can sing very well. You can't sing either, can you, Al?
No, we won't attempt it.
No.
So this is wrong.
Yeah, sorry. And I was really interested, Al. I don't know, those books and you mentioned the attractiveness thing. Could you just tell us a bit more about that? Because sounds very.
Law of attraction.
Yeah.
No. Have you ever the mind is powerful? So I went to a shop looking really unattractive. Sort of, when you wear your joggers and you've got no makeup on, your hair's tied back, and you think, I know who I'm going to see. I think that person's going to turn up and I'm going to see them in that shop. It happens, and it's because I've law of attracted it. It's something, it's energy, it's all about energy. I used to think, probably like you're thinking now, this is wacko stuff, but I've looked at my life and there's massive things in it when you start to read about it. There's loads and loads of books on it. So it's about, you look at people that are negative, they're never successful. If you look at people that think this way, they get successful because they believe, it's self-belief that you can achieve this and do it. So as a midwife, when I look at other midwives working really hard in the NHS, doing an amazing job, and I have to add, I still practice, I'm helping out and still practice. But, it's because they think that's their lot. And so that's what they get. But when you think, actually, that's where I'm setting that's my goal, that's what law of attraction. So you're attracting it back, but you have to genuinely believe it. So if you think, I'm going to get a Lamborghini, I know I'm going to get it, and I'm going to put it on my fridge, it won't work for you. You have to think, I'm getting that Lamborghini, and this is how I'm going to achieve it.
Yes. And
then it comes into fruition.
I think you're right. I sometimes freak my reception team out because I'll say to them, do you know who we haven't seen for a little while? And I'll think of a patient's name, and they'll say, I can't believe that. They rang this morning and they booked in. So I do think there is a little bit of that sometimes.
People have attracted them back to you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like if you ever really think about somebody an awful lot, the chances are they are probably thinking about you. Your friends, or quite often, do you ever have that moment where you think, I haven't heard of her for so long, and it rings?
Yeah.
It's energy.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I'm sending you, I'll need your address, Adrian. I'm sending you the secret.
Oh, great. And what's the secret? Is the secret to do with attractiveness as well?
No, it's all about law of attraction. I've got an old copy, and it's very good luck if somebody sends it to you. But I did promise it to someone else once, and I keep meaning to send it to him, but I like you, so I'm dumping him.
Okay, dump him. But I think you're really right about it, actually. Because, for example, Al, we started this podcast, yeah?
Yeah.
And Dee, there's no podcast in the UK like this. Alamise sort of started it, and we don't know whether it's going to work, do we, Al?
Is this going to work?
Yeah, because
I think it's got to work. But the thing is, Adrian, you can't think like that, because you've got to think, I'm a plastic surgeon, I play in a band, I'm good looking, I'm going to kill it here, because when I put it out, everybody's going to want to watch, and that's it. They will.
And we've got Alison.
And Alison is the secret.
She's the secret sauce. She is, and
It's a good job she's the secret.
yeah, super secret. So I think that's right. So what we do is just basically talk to people we like.
Yeah, we do. And it's like patients. It's like your patients, isn't it? We like them and they tend to like us. I think you do attract the right people around you. And I think that's what it is. And I think Dee's very good at this. You know, I've seen it at conferences. Dee, you know, we are very similar, but you are ballsy. There's nothing going to stop in the path of Dee Hadley.
No.
I think the same about you. Mutual respect, Alison. Very strong women. I think maturity's got a big thing to do with it, because I wasn't the same when I was in my 20s. And I always say to women, I actually put a post on the other day, I always say to women, when you're young and beautiful, you actually are very frightened to be who you want to be. When you start to lose a little bit of that beauty and you get a bit of age and maturity, you have a small amount of time where you can be dynamic, you can be who you want to be and still hold it. And I really want to give that message to young women, nurses, you know, out there. There's some fantastic nurses out there and they really question themselves, because what they're doing is they're looking at doctors, no disrespect, Adrian, I'm being very honest. 2 things stop women in business. Being female is one, and not having the status of their colleagues. And sometimes you have to break down those barriers and be strong and say, you know, I've been challenging to people and say, so come on, tell me what makes you so wonderful, because I'm interested, because I want to learn from you. Really, they're not that wonderful and they're not going to share that much with me. But it provokes some thought about their own behaviour.
Yeah. Do you think, here's a question, do you think everyone can be strong and, you know, go-getting like you, and just, you know, can anyone do that, or do you teach yourself to do that?
I know, I actually don't think some people don't want to do that.
No.
They don't want to do that, you know. Lisa, who works for me, who is probably one of the most intelligent women that I've ever met. Didn't have a formal education, but her children went off to university. She was a single parent, children went off to university. She's just genetically very, very intelligent, born into the wrong life, probably. She won't mind me saying this if she sees it. But, you know, I actually said to her, right, we're going to get you on the property ladder and I'm going to help you. So I won't say what I offered, but it was attractive. You know, I was looking after somebody that has looked after me all my life, virtually, you know, working life. And she said, I've spoken to my husband and that's not for us. It's such a lovely offer, but we don't want to take you up on it. Really? That's interesting, because she was happy with her lot. And sometimes you have to question contentment, don't you? Do you ever, you know, when I was a midwife, I always aspired to different things and different journeys. And sometimes I would go and see a couple that just had a baby and that's all they wanted. They were happy because they've got a big TV and they went on holiday once a year. And, you know, I'm happy for people like that if that makes them content. It's just not who I am, because I like the excitement and the adrenaline of life. I like to go in different journeys. I like to be a little bit, you know, out there, because I want that rush. I want that.
Yeah, now here's a question for you, Kate. So you two are strong women who basically do what you want and are driven. How is it to be your partner?
Oh, hell.
That's got you, isn't it?
Hell on earth. I sometimes think my husband must love me so much, Alison, because, you know, he has like somebody that's got schizophrenia in his life. I can be like, oh, darling, you're so beautiful. I love you. You're my world. And the next day, right, I'm off. I'm going down to my clinic to stay in the flat. I need space. I think he loves me for my complexities. And one day I said to him, would you just not love a woman that really looks after you? A little sexy woman that gives you loads of food and love.
Bring your slippers. Yeah.
He said, I would. I said, well, be brave. But he won't be brave because he's fulfilled by the funniness of myself. You know, he loves that too, I guess.
So
did you hear that? Did you hear that, Adrian?
Yeah, but I think.
No, he said.
Yeah, he loves. What was that, Al?
No,
I said, did you hear that? He went, no way.
So, but, no, but I think you maybe you two probably aren't for everybody, if you see what I mean. Because
I think you're absolutely right. I always remember years ago, and it's quite funny. I always remember years ago a boyfriend saying to me, "Do you know, I really love you, Alison, but you really aren't everyone's cup of tea." It was quite a short relationship, but I've always said I don't want to be everyone's cup of tea. I'd rather be someone's shot of whiskey. I'm not a tea drinker, you know, and that is the reality of it. And I'm really, it's funny actually, that boyfriend saying that to me years ago was probably the best thing he ever could have said, because I'm really okay with not being everyone's cup of tea. And I know some people don't like me because I am too straight and I'm not your sort of typical sit down sort of knit and all that. And I do say to my husband sometimes, you know, would it not have been easier to marry someone like so-and-so? And he's like, and it's the same thing, he's like, but that would probably be boring. But I think you're right, it is hard, but it must be hard being married to you, Adrian.
I think my wife would agree. Yeah, I probably am a bit annoying a lot of the time, I imagine. I'm told I am. Now,
I think, can I make a point there? Sorry, I think big people marry big people, because, you know, if you think of people, if you've got, you know, I don't know whether you feel the same way, Adrian, but I'm actually, I guess, a contradiction of terms. So I can be so soft and kind and tearful, and I can be so hard and driven. I can look at the political divide and think I'm a bit of that and I'm a bit of, you know, those complexities, which is you yourself as well, because you're a plastic surgeon and you're a musician and you look like you've got a lot about you from what I'm gathering.
Oh, thank you.
You generally we will find the right person for us, but they have to be made of something. They have to have a big measure to put up with us. But it means we're in the winning situation because we get that kind of person.
Yeah, I would agree. And sounds like we're all happily married, so that's good news, isn't it? Now, Dee, you were talking about I was interested to know a bit more about your property exploits, and you got a bit of property portfolio. So could you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yes, so basically, I did it on my own. My husband does his own thing, and he's done property in the past. And I just made some money in my company and decided that I could make more money by putting it into another business. So I started off by buying terraced houses and renting them out. And again, going back...
By buying houses?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the great thing is that whilst there's a little bit of a capitalist in me, don't want to admit to that, but there is also a bit of a socialist in me. So I'm kind to the people that rent my houses out, so they get lower rent and they're really lovely quality houses. So even though, even though I do this, there is goodness behind it, if that makes sense. So yes, I've do you know Bearwood?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, which is not far from where. So I started off in Bearwood. It's a really good area for the universities and things like that, and it's a nice and up and coming area, and that's where I started.
Oh, I've got a house in near the lake. You know, the lake where they do the for the universities, where they do the sailing in the centre of Birmingham. Old reservoir.
Oh right, yes. In Franklin.
Yeah. So
reservoir. Yeah, so why have you got a house there? Sorry, we're
because we do.
This is very interactive.
Sorry, and we do property as well. So we've.
Yes, I know you do property, but how come you went there?
Because it's a very good place to go, apparently.
Stop following.
It's near all the university. So you've got Birmingham and you've got Aston, and it's near the centre, and it's near a nice lake in the centre of. And my dad always said he always wanted to be taught sailing on that lake, but he never got to do it. So it all sort of came together. So we have a
little bit of a bit sentimental. So can you tell me a little bit about your properties? Can I learn anything from you?
So not. So we have a few which we rent out, same as you. But so basically, my business partner is my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah. who I've known since he was 14. I bought him his first drink. Yeah.
Oh.
And we ran the marathon together in 1996. We've always got on well. But you've met him, haven't you, Al?
Yeah.
Jim. We're chalk and cheese. So he's the money guy in the contract, you know, he's the numbers guy, and I'm not that at all. So basically he runs the property company. He knocked his house down, had it rebuilt, and the builder who rebuilt his house, we are in now partnership with building new houses. So the builder builds the house, we finance the house, and then we sell the house, hopefully. But difficult to do.
How about HMOs? That might be I think HMOs are a very big thing at the moment.
Yeah, we've got some of those. But we're not going to talk about me.
Sorry, you know, like we'd turn that round.
So Dee, hang on, I'm going to try and bring this conversation back. So, Beautoxology, beautiful 4-story clinic in Belbroughton, running the white party. You know, I've chosen a different colour, that's a bit more flattering.
I could change it now. If you two have got any great ideas, come on, give them to me, guys. Because you know the white party has been done before.
Okay, we'll put our thinking caps on.
Well, I went to a party the other day where it was basically colourful. It was like a 70s colourful party, and the photos were brilliant because I've got one behind me somewhere. But everyone was so bright, and in fact, it was the 21st. My daughter and her best friend, and the lady the mother of the other daughter, made it into a puzzle. So we've got a puzzle of all the people wearing all their beautiful colours. And I've got it just behind me, actually. And it was just brilliant. All the different colours, and the puzzle was brilliant. And it was such a brilliant day. And our band played as well. So anyway, there you go.
I've got something to tell you guys.
What?
A house has come back to me.
No!
My husband's got a note saying that a house has come back to you. I told you.
Wow.
Sorry, literally, I've been tearful over it.
Wow.
Told you.
Yeah.
I'm sending you that book.
That's amazing.
Sorry, I almost want to go away for a minute and go, yeah. Sorry.
No,
Well,
I think
that's
Point
because
proven. What did I say?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm so delighted. My husband even interrupted me then to say it's back on, and the price that we've got to pay, which was a little bit more, but we expected that. We just wanted it.
Hey, can you get him to show us that price just now?
No.
Right, I think we should let Dee now go and celebrate. I just think that's the best news, and how fantastic for it to come back on.
I'm so happy. This was just a little moment that actually did prove it. Alison Telfer, please answer my calls in future, because you are a businesswoman and you're hard work. And Adrian, it's been a pleasure to meet you over this forum.
Yep. And we'll
see each other at the white party or the colourful party.
Yeah, I like the colourful party.
Yeah,
Perfect.
100%. Guys,
We'll do that, guys.
yeah, it's been lovely. Thank you very much for your time today.
Bye, darling. And we want to come to the housewarming party.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
We've got plenty of room.
Get lost in that maze.
Okay, bye-bye.